And when I walked into the dorms of the orphanages, we just were overwhelmed with this horrible smell of urine. And we didn't even want to ask the director there because we don't want to make them just think like we're criticizing them. But then he shared that it's because the orphans who have gone through trauma, they're more likely to pee their bed. And these mattresses are over 10 years old, so they just haven't had the funds to replace them. So my heart was burdened, and driving back from Ensenada, I just made an Instagram post because we were like, hey, there's 24 beds. It costs about $140 to get them new beds and covers and pillows. And so it would be about $3,100. We didn't have the funds for it, so I just made a post just to put it out there. In less than 48 hours, God fully provided the funds for that. So we were blown away, and we're like, wow, that's just incredible. Praise God. And then we went back and unpacked the mattresses and everything with the kids. They were super excited. This is all documented on my Instagram. So what I primarily do is with the partnership, we help families stay in their homes when they're going through foreclosure. So we help them save their homes. It's been really impactful work because, for example, one lady we helped recently, her name's Stephanie, and she was a single mother of five, which my heart goes out to single parents because I have two kids and it's super hard with help and all that. And then she got into financial hardship because one of her daughters, 13-year-old daughter, got ovarian cancer.
Welcome to the Dream Start On podcast. I am your host, Edgar the Connector, and today we have Joshua's son. I want to say he's amazing, but he won't let me because this guy is so humble. He's doing some amazing things, helping out so many people in the world, and he doesn't like to hear it, but it's true. I just got to spread his word. I know a little bit of what he's doing, so today we're going to learn a lot more and see how we can help him out. Please subscribe to the channel so we can get more guests that are doing amazing things like Joshua. And at the end of the episode, let me know what you learned. Mr. Sun, so where are you located at?
First of all, thank you, Edgar. I'm in Los Angeles. I just want to thank you for having me on your podcast. I mean, you are a fellow Owners Club member. So, that's for people who don't know, that's a $40,000 mastermind under Pace Morby. So I love your commitment to self-development and getting in the right rooms. And I also love that you're interviewing and doing podcasts with all the Owners Club members. And so you're plugged into so many people doing great things within our community, within Owners Club, serving veterans, foster kids, you name it, all these different demographics, and also in different asset classes like multifamily, co-living, Airbnb. And before I joined Owners Club in Subto a year and a half ago, I wanted to get into real estate investing, but my only thought of that was flips. But I've learned that there's so much more, so I really appreciate you just educating the public and being such a good resource so that if anybody wants to get involved, they want to learn how to do deals, they want to invest, you are like the best person to connect them because that's why you're Edgar the Connector.
Thank you so much. You gave me a little bit too much credit there, but I appreciate it. But one thing I do have to get more focused on, and I appreciate you speaking that out, is that when I come into these podcasts or go into the room networking, that I have to visualize myself, not the person I am today, but the person I'm reaching to, the goal that I'm reaching to be.
Yeah, you're like it's like a bicycle wheel. You're the hub. You're the middle that's connected to all the different spokes and to all the different types of real estate people they want to serve and just people even geographically. So that's awesome, man.
Cool. Thank you so much. So you're in Los Angeles, and you said you just were trying to get into real estate, thinking about fix and flip, but you've learned that, as Pace says, there's so many ways to win in real estate, and that's kind of a problem because you want to go everywhere with it.
Yeah, shiny object syndrome for sure.
Definitely. What is your focus today?
So I've fallen into the role of being a capital raiser, and I didn't even know that was even a thing. So I think one thing I'd like to share with people is that, to your point, Edgar, there's so many ways to make money in real estate, whether you're going after the deals or underwriting the deal or even being a transaction coordinator doing the paperwork. We know people who are making very good money doing each of those roles. And I think in Pace's avatar series, there's like 20 or 30 avatars. But again, the message or the lesson for me that I've learned is just when you just take steps forward and just learn and network. You just learn and find ways that you can succeed in real estate that you didn't even know about. And I just, again, fell into the role of a capital raiser. So what I primarily do is with a partnership, we help families stay in their homes when they're going through foreclosure. So we help them save their homes. It's been really impactful work because, for example, one lady we helped recently, her name's Stephanie, and she was a single mother of 5, which my heart goes out to single parents because I have 2 kids and it's super hard with help and all that. And then she got into financial hardship because one of her daughters, 13-year-old daughter, got ovarian cancer. So she racked up about $320,000 in medical bills, took out a second mortgage, but unfortunately got into the hands of a predatory lender. And she lives in California. She had about over $600,000 in equity in her property. And when she was 2.5 weeks late, the lender foreclosed on her. Not 90 days, 2.5 weeks late, and added all these junk fees and stuff. So her balance went from $320,000 to $500,000 within 2 months. That's how predatory this lender was. So she was saying how, because of the chemo and stuff like that, their home was really their haven, because they can do normal things like go to the beach because of the daughter's immune system and all that. So she would just, find ways to have movie nights or make it fun. So her home was kind of the last thing for them. And then her husband was also murdered when he went back to his home country. So she just went through so much hardship, and her story is amazing. If anybody wants to check it out, they can contact me and be happy to share with it. But just being a part of what God is doing, as my partner Ty likes to say, God is doing the work. We're all His servants, and we just get to be a part of it. But getting to be a part of doing that work that is really fulfilling, because we feel like God really did change that person's life, Stephanie and her whole family, by saving her home. While we do partner with investors and make them really good returns, and we have a very unique structure that mitigates the risk and all of that. So yeah, that's what I'm primarily focused on right now.
That's amazing you were able to help her out. What did it take? So I assume you paid out the lender and then just got some of her equity out. How can you structure that?
Yeah, so we had to raise about 550,000 in what was it? I think it was in like 3 days. But by God's grace, because we have awesome investors, they came to the table. We're able to pay off that predatory loan, and that lender was actually calling escrow like every single day because he really wanted the property. And he thought that he thought he had it, because he was like, "There's no way this lady can come up with 550 grand, in a short time." And then again, all by God's grace, we were able to pay that off, and then we refinanced that into a hard money loan. That's our usual exit strategy, and to pay back our investors and their returns. And she's very happy. And yeah, her story is really cool because she's like, man, it's still surreal. She has a glass door, or part of the door. And she's like, every day I go to the door, I'm still like traumatized that they're going to put like a foreclosure notice on there. So yeah, just what this lady has had to endure and just how strong she is. Again, as a single mom, working to pay all of that off, and being there for her child with chemo and all of that has just been, I just, have so much respect for her.
Shout out to all the single moms out there that are holding for it and being both parents. Shout out to Joshua, Ty, the Lord, for being able to put you in her path to be able to help that. Not everybody's fortunate enough to run into somebody like you that's able to know the workarounds and to be able to help with that. If you're in trouble and you're getting into loan, read your paperwork. If you're worried about it, you don't understand it, ChatGPT can help simplify it. Now, it's not 100%. I'm not a lawyer. It's not legal advice, but that is one place to put it in there to be able to simplify it and understand it and give you big red flags of what the worst case scenario is if you default on that.
That's a great point, Edgar. I'm glad you mentioned that, because ChatGPT has helped me save a ton on attorney fees, because with raising capital, there's a lot of SEC regulations, and I actually, used a securities attorney, and he billed me for $1,800. And it was for a 1 hour meeting, but then I sent him some questions before so that I could expedite it. But he actually took time to answer the questions, and he billed me for that. I didn't even know. But moving forward, my assistant Ross, my creative director Ross, he's awesome. He's like, hey, why don't you just use ChatGPT, answer at least all the hard questions so you can save money. So ever since then, I've just been using that, and even with tax questions. I just went on a trip in Vegas, and it was for my 10-year anniversary, but also to make content. And I was even on ChatGPT today, and it gave me very good answers about what I can write off, what I can't write off, and things like that. And I think just put in the right prompt, like act like an SEC attorney or act like a tax professional or an IRS auditor. And yeah, that's a great point. ChatGPT knows everything.
Yep, yep. Um, Good point. Putting the prompts. Got to learn the prompts. Tell ChatGPT what you want it to think like, because if not, it's just going to be very broad. So if you learn about content, tell them to be a content professional, taxes, lawyer, automotive, writing articles. There's so many things. But
Yep.
talking about capital raising, that's amazing. You were able to raise 550 in 3 days.
All by God's grace. Yeah.
How long have you been capital raising now?
I started last June. Again, I joined Subto and Gator method last March, and then I was trying to go after foreclosures, like door knocking, calling, but it just didn't work. And then I got involved with the deal as a capital raiser in June. So it's been a little over a year.
Wow. 1 year, you've already picked up that network because it's all about the network, right? It's not like you call some bank, capitalraiser.com, and ask them for the money. This is relationships you've grown. What do you think has made people trust you to be able to lend that money to you?
Yeah, great question. So my background is in mortgage, so I've been doing that for about 20 years. So a lot of our investors happen to be my mortgage clients, buyers, sellers, and also my realtor partners that I've developed a relationship with. Some of my investors are just friends and family, so I think those are your first level of network, right? People who already know, like, and trust you, you have a relationship with. But the other part that God has really used to help me build trust is content and social media. And that's why I'm so big on social media and content, because I think in today's world, especially, we live in a post trust world where we don't trust politicians, corporations, the media, pretty much anything. Making content through personal branding is the best way to build that trust at scale. Meaning you just document what you're already doing. You don't really have to you don't have to take extra time to create scripts and stuff like that. You can do that too, and I do some of that, but it's more just documenting what you're doing in your business, documenting your family as much as you're comfortable with, your day to day. And when people just see you show up consistently, and they just get to know you, hey, this person is a father, this person's a husband, this person has these interests, and those are all connection points, because that's why my personal content strategy, I like to just share everything I can to make the top of the funnel wider. My faith, my self-development, my coaching masterminds content, my me as a dad, homeschooling, so that somebody might connect with me on one of these points, but then later they'll see that I'm also a real estate investor or capital raiser or whatever business you might be doing. And then they're like, hey, because uh, and also it allows people to have more value to follow you, because if I'm just posting about real estate all the time, number one, it's kind of boring after a while. But number two, if they're not ready to invest in real estate or buy real estate, it's not relevant, so they might not follow me. But if I'm trying to give value in these different ways, they might follow me for any one of these content pillars. And when it's time, when they're ready to buy or invest, or they hear somebody, one of their friends who want to do it, then they'll be like, oh, I'll connect them with Josh because I already know who he is and I've already built that trust with him.
That's fascinating. I need to switch that up on my personal Instagram and social media because most of it is focused on the podcast and real estate entrepreneurship. And my one post I recently did, which is I feel so good about, we went to go see some veterans. Shout out Julie Kalat, Ash Atkinson, Lever, Brian Madsen, and Gina
Love all those guys.
Gloria. They that post got like 40,000 views, which is the most I've gotten on any.
Wow.
I was like, whoa, what happened? So there is people that like to see that veterans are being helped out, and But I do need to switch it up and put some more fun stuff, some more personal stuff there besides the podcast and these interviews. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
What was the first thing when you started raising your first amount of capital? That was there something that clicked that made you go to that? Was it a need?
For me, I think it's just, just happened kind of by chance. And I just kept doing it. And I feel like raising capital is good if you like to just build relationships with people. And if you're able to just explain things in a way where people can understand, maybe break down some complex or unfamiliar concepts into just everyday terms. I think I've learned that ability through mortgage because that's kind of what I did as a loan officer. And then for me, I think just I'm not good at I can't fix anything around the house. My wife always gives me a hard time, so I'm not gonna fix and flip properties. I don't have the flexibility to go door knocking. I went once, but it's hard because my wife and I both work full time. We have two young kids. So I think also from a scheduling standpoint, capital raising, I like it because you can do it with a lot more flexibility. And you could do it at home. You could do it at a Starbucks, anywhere. When we go on trips, I can still do what I need to do. So I think for those reasons, if being a connector or a capital raiser, if you have those type of skill sets and that fits your lifestyle, I think that could work for you.
Incredible information there. Um, you said you're working full time, so you have a W two or full time as in your entrepreneur.
I mean, I work full time as a capital raiser. That's my full time job right now, or business, and I love it. I super enjoy just being able to help the projects we're doing, to help the homeowners, but also help investors get access to deals that they might not get. That has better returns than other options like the stock market or a CD at a bank. Um, and then just being able to make money for my family and the flexibility, like I mentioned. My background was mortgage, but last July, by God's grace, I partnered with a friend who's a broker to run that business. So I still get a split of that income. It's still ongoing, so that's nice. But I don't have to be available like 9 to 5 like when I was doing mortgages, and a lot of times even at nights and weekends. And you just have to answer the phone because people are buying a house, they're in the loan process. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I enjoy being a capital raiser is not being tied to that phone and having to deal with that kind of like anxiety or stress. I think that's built over the years as a loan officer.
Yeah, great point there. As a mortgage person, when somebody calls you with their documents, having questions about it, you have to be there basically as at all times because that closing date is coming in. So you have a ticking time bomb for it to either complete or blow up and have to start again.
Yeah, and then
Um,
also just to piggyback real quick on that, like my referral source, my lead source were realtors. So realtors, if you don't answer the phone, they are not happy, and then they don't send you any more deals. So you get the pressure from that as well. So I'm thankful that I don't have to deal with that. Like my partner runs that, but then now I'm not really reliant on realtors, and to have to be available like all the time for them.
yeah, yeah. Good point. Answering the phone within the first or calling back within the first 5 minutes of any job that you're doing is very important. If you don't, there's like a 80-90% chance that you won't get that business.
Yep, exactly.
Uh, Earlier you mentioned avatars. So what the avatar is what Pace mentions is basically people's personalities of what they like doing. Because if you enjoy what you're doing, you're going to do it better. You'll do it longer. You're not going to get burned out, and that's super beneficial for somebody to figure out what it is. And the best way for you to learn that is to try multiple things.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for example, somebody could be a really good underwriter, and that's one of the reasons why I know I'm not going to be able to go after the deals because I'm not a underwriter by nature. Like I'm not super attention to details. I don't, and then also underwriting. I think to be a really good underwriter, it just takes there's a huge learning curve, right? There's so much to underwriting a deal, and so like, but there are people who are really good as underwriters, and then just by doing that really well, to your point, because if you focus on one thing, it's easier, you can get better at it faster. Then they can just partner with other people. Like, hey, I'm going to underwrite the deals. one person can go get the deals, one person can bring the capital. And then I think in real estate, like kind of what you're saying already, it's all about just forming really good partnerships where each person's really good at their role. So you have that synergy where, you know, each person does their role well. So 1 + 1 + 1 equals, instead of 3, it equals like 5.
Yeah, when the sum of the parts are greater than the parts themselves. Great
Yep,
point there.
exactly.
What does your capital raising team look like today?
So I'm my creative director, Ross. He handles my content. He's helped me grow. I mean, my Instagram, Facebook. He's helped create and starting to build my LinkedIn and Twitter. And he has 100,000 followers on his Twitter, so he's really good at that. And I haven't had to do anything with that, and he's awesome. I just want to give him a huge shout out, Ross. You're the man. He helps me even target. He does targeted audience connections, especially on LinkedIn. So he's been getting me meetings on LinkedIn with potential investors. He's also helped me start my YouTube channel, and he's edits my capital raising class that I have on there, which is basically just sharing with people what I've learned in my short time by God's grace. And my capital raising class is just self-learning videos about 5 minutes long, and they're in 3 categories. One is capital raising, one is social media content, and one is productivity, like Jim Quick's Limitless book on how to maximize your energy, your performance, efficiency stuff like the calendar series we learned from Pace. Because again, when I started real estate investing, it was a second job. It was kind of like, you know, you did 9 to 5 and 5 to 9, or, you know, the 5 to 1 or whatever. And with 2 kids and my wife working, and for anyone who may be in that situation, just learning how to maximize your time and productivity and maintaining your energy at a high level is really key so that you can grow and learn faster or get into real estate investing faster.
Yeah, great point. Where do people find your capital raising class?
My YouTube handle is the same as my Instagram, which is Joshua Sun 26, and just Joshua Sun 26. And we'd love to, yeah, you guys go check it out. And if there's any questions about capital raising or content, let me know. Just DM me on Instagram, and that'll actually help me have come up with topics or videos that I can address those and just put it on there. And yeah, it'll just give me content to post, and will help other people.
That's great. You're doing it that way. I still got to get used to doing that as well. When somebody asks me a question, to get on the camera and just answer it there and use it for, evergreen content to help out the people, to serve the others that are trying to get into it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, capital raising, besides family members and friends, what is your next best source to find people to invest into your deals?
Oh yeah, great question. Sorry if I kind of sidetracked off of that. Thanks for bringing me back. The Gator community. So Gator Method is a program under Pace Morby. So Pace Morby, he's the king of creative finance. He's the one who runs our Owners Club Mastermind. He also has a Subto program with about 16,000 people. That one I really recommend because you learn about all the different asset classes like we talked about. You learn about creative finance, which is a much smarter way to invest and acquire properties. There's 2 main types: subject to, which means you can buy properties by taking over the payments. Like I could buy your phone, Edgar, by taking over the payments. I'm not going on the loan. I'm not assuming the loan. And that way you can get properties with very good interest rates, because somebody might have gone to rate during COVID at 2.5%. We bought an Airbnb with my partners last year for 2.5%. And seller finance is another main way. The seller can become the bank and just work out with the buyer terms, like what amount, what monthly payment, what interest rate, etc. And this, what it really does is allow you to buy properties with lower rates, so it's easier to cash flow, and also with lower down payments. And that's the Sub2 community. Gator community is the private money lenders that finances Sub2 deals. Because let's say Sub2, what's really cool about Pace is in the last 5 years, he's purchased over 2,000 doors, over $500 million in real estate without using a dollar of his own money and ever running his credit. So even with Sub2 and seller finance, sometimes you still need to put a down payment. And the way you can still buy that property without any of your own money is you can use other people's money, or OPM, by finding these private money lenders in the Gator community. And they're willing to lend their money on these types of deals that a traditional bank won't finance. So that's why there's an opportunity for people in Gator. And I believe there's around 12,000 private money lenders in there. And I'm also in the Gator community. So I just share our foreclosure deals on there. And a lot of our investors come from Gator and also Subto and then also Owners Club.
That's an extraordinary. I haven't thought about that. I'm in the Gator community as well, and I hop into the Facebook group once in a while. I need to get better at doing that. I'm gonna go check out your posts. I'm gonna copy your footsteps so I can become better at capital raising as well, and hopefully help you fund some deals.
Yeah, well, I mean, we love that, and I think yeah, just the way Pace does the membership or the fee, it's only a one-time fee for life, which is incredible because all of our other programs are even Owners Club is annual renewal, and for sub two, I believe it's like 10,000, but you could join with a business partner to get pay half of that. Gator is only 3,000, so if you're raising capital or you're doing your own deals, I think just paying that $3,000 just to have access to these investors is totally worth it.
Definitely. There'll be a link below to join both of the communities. Sub 2 is for buying properties, real estate, and so many different ways to win in real estate. And then Gator is to, as you mentioned, uh, private money lending and the multiple different ways to do it. Right now, there's 3 courses on it, but he's got like 8 different ways to do it.
Yeah, it's incredible how many different ways there are to lend money and make money. Of course, investments are risky, so a big part of it is just how to vet the deals and how to avoid these mistakes. But to as what you were saying earlier, Edgar, like if you join it, use Edgar's affiliate link. That'll bless him and just give him a little bit of value back for all the value he gives to us. One thing I want to share, if I can, is we started doing a bad deal chat on Saturdays at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And that's just something that organically happened that the Lord has been doing. It started about 6 weeks ago. Ty, because he's been doing these deals and has 3 decades of just experience with real estate, bad deals, God's really given him that ability and wisdom through his experience. I call him the MacGyver of deals because he's just so creative on how to save deals, how to structure deals. And so he was naturally already helping the investors who invest in our foreclosure deals get their money back on their bad deals. So one idea that we came up with from the Lord, we believe, is, hey, why don't we just have this on Saturday and just have other people bring their bad deals and Ty can give his thoughts and try to see if we can do anything. Also, it's going to be a platform where people can learn, especially newer investors, but all of us, we all want to learn how to avoid bad deals because every time someone shares a bad deal, we like to ask them, okay, what were some of the red flags looking back? What would you have done differently? What are some of the lessons you've learned so we can all learn together? Because I think people don't realize how stressful it is to lose money in a deal. The money part is bad, especially if you're connecting someone. Losing other people's money is worse than losing your own. But just kind of the guilt, the sleepless nights, right? And also sometimes you may also get heat from your spouse, like what were you doing? How can you lose our money? But then also like there was a person who we were able to help. His name's Asher. He lost money in multiple deals to the point where he didn't want to invest anymore. So I think that's maybe one of the biggest costs of getting into a bad deal people don't think about is it makes you scared or afraid to invest in real estate deals where there are good deals out there and there's bad deals. So you just have to learn how to avoid the bad ones. But then when you get kind of traumatized and you lose money in a few deals, it could just stop someone from investing completely and it can really just hurt you financially from reaping the rewards of investing in good deals and getting into real estate investing yourself. And with Asher, just a praise report real quick. He was on one of our first bad deal chats, which was on Saturday. He and his partner had $90,000 stuck in a deal, and the property was going to auction that Tuesday at 10 a.m. So Ty, talked to him. He connected with our team after and came up with a plan. We raised $58,000 needed to save his deal, and the property still went to auction, but we stopped it at 10:45 a.m., like 45 minutes after it started. And we just got the update on the last or 2 bad deal chats ago where the appraisal appraised that value, and we're looking to close that within a week or so by God's grace. So Again, recovering his 90,000 with his partner, but also saving the homeowner $400,000 in equity that he would have lost as well. So that's what we like to do on the bad deal. So if you have a bad deal or want to learn about bad deals or how to avoid bad deals, please check us out. And we also record them too. So reach out to me. We'll be happy to share our whole archive with you. And we're posting those on the YouTube channel too.
Wow, wow, wow. So much to unpack there. So the bad deal that's open to anybody that's on YouTube?
Yeah. Yep.
Great.
I mean, those are the recordings, but if you want to join our bad deal, just reach out to me. We'll send you the invite and you could join us whenever you like. People, it's really cool because it's on a Saturday where you don't have the, busyness of texts and emails and stuff during the week. And people like tune in, they're just eating their breakfast or they just, while they're doing errands and stuff. And also, what God has done, that's probably the coolest part actually, I forgot to mention, is he's forming a really special community and something that Ty has been calling equity family. Because you just see people rally together, like somebody shares a bad deal, another person be like, hey, I live in Denver, reach out to me, or hey, let's connect after this, or hey, I have this resource. And then whenever we do need funds for that deal to save it, because we're all there and we're all just in that kind of mindset to help each other. And the way Ty puts it, I really appreciate it. It's like, hey, we all care about money. We would be disingenuous to say we don't. But we're people who care more about doing what's right in God's eyes than we care about money. And so, like, it's just really cool to see people rally together, even come up with the capital needed between everyone on the chat. And it's been kind of also growing organically because when people just experience it, they tell other people. And it's just been going through the, Subto Gator and Owners Club communities.
That's fantastic. And as you mentioned, you you receive what you give. So the money's going to come when you're giving, when you're serving, you're helping others. Another thing you mentioned earlier was that you help the investor get out of foreclosure. So it's not just regular foreclosure families that people know. You're actually helping the investors getting out of bad deals and getting their money back, or being able to hold on to the property to eventually get their money back. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's all glory to God. It's not me. I facilitate the meeting. It's his wisdom that God's given him. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. And then we also have people on the bad deals. What have you noticed? The bad deals, is it people that get excited doing the first deal that are usually doing a bad deal, or is it somebody that's done multiple that gets compliant?
A lot of it is like they're not doing enough due diligence or they're just kind of trusting people. One thing I've learned is there's a term called grifter, I think, where there's this person who, hangs out with Pace and shows up in the communities and like kind of leverages everyone's kind of brand and kind of gains people's trust. And there's also people who target specifically. There's this one on one of the chats, they talked about this person who targets like women specifically. So they're just to know, like, because I'm a trusting person by nature, and for trusting people who are trusting, who are nice, they just think other people are the same way. But unfortunately, what I've learned, one of the lessons I've learned is that we just can't trust people, especially the people who are really nice or they're really polished, because some of them are like just intentionally trying to deceive. So then you still have to like trust but verify, like Pace says, and also just ask people around. That's why having a good community like Gator or Sub2 is good, because when you're plugged into that, you can kind of double check people. Like, hey, I'm talking to this person about this deal. Like, have you heard of them? Have you done a bad deal with them before? And that's part of the protection to help avoid. And I mean, I would say, like, as an investor myself, and you probably as well, getting into a bad deal is just part of the inherent risk of investing, right? At some point, if you haven't, I was talking to another Gator, he's like, hey, if you haven't gotten into a bad deal, you probably just haven't been investing it long enough. But again, there's stuff we can do to mitigate that and to reduce the chances of that.
Well said. Trust but verify, that's huge. A lot of us that growing up, if you're not dealing with a lot of people or doing a lot of deals, you think that 90% of the people look at the world or think the same way you do. And you got to
Yep.
realize that everybody's lived different lives, everybody has different things. And con man, their con is for confidence. So if they
Yes,
seem too confident, they're gaining too much of your confidence, you still got to verify it.
absolutely. Well said.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that information. Bad deals. Hey, y'all go check that out. Give them a like. Josh was giving us so much good information here. Now let's pivot a little bit to what you're doing for foster kids, orphanages.
Yeah, the work with the orphanage is really cool because it's all a total God thing. I've always felt as a Christian that I wasn't doing enough for the needy. And I was just focused on building my mortgage business and got into social media 2 years ago because I felt like it was necessary. And then we joined this church about a year ago, and they've been doing orphanage ministry for 3 or 4 years. And I went on my first trip on May 17th. And when I walked into the dorms of the orphanages, we just were overwhelmed with this horrible smell of urine. And we didn't even want to ask the director there because we don't want to make them just think like we're criticizing them. But then he shared that it's because the orphans who have gone through trauma, they're more likely to pee their bed. And these mattresses are over 10 years old, so they just haven't had the funds to replace them. So my heart was burdened, and driving back from Ensenada, that's where we go. It's about 4 hours from Los Angeles. I just made an Instagram post because we were like, hey, there's 24 beds. It costs about $140 to get them new beds and covers and pillows. And so it would be about $3,100. We didn't have the funds for it, so I just made a post just to put it out there. And in less than 48 hours, God fully provided the funds for that. So we were blown away, and we're like, wow, that's just incredible. Praise God. And then we went back and unpacked the mattresses and everything with the kids. They were super excited. This is all documented on my Instagram. And from that point on, I felt like God was connecting what I was doing with business and social media with making an impact. And that just like really made me feel like I've been sitting on the bench saying, Coach, put me in, and finally God's allowing me to get in the game, and seeing that what I've been doing, it wasn't for nothing. And that stuff that we do for business and with content can be used to make an impact. And ever since then, there's two other orphanages we support, and they ask for beds and stuff like that too. So again, our little faith, right? God raised it for $3,000, but this one it would cost about $9,000 to replace everything, the mattresses and stuff for 58 kids. So we didn't know how that was going to happen, but we made a video, posted out there, and by God's grace and thanks to all the generous donors out there, raised the capital. And we just went back last couple weeks ago to replace the different mattresses, and we made documented that. It's on my Instagram, but just super cool. And now we're planning a trip. We already planned a trip to go back in October for one of the orphanages to paint and make the orphanages look more welcoming and hospitable, because these kids, when they go into the orphanage, they're coming out of situations, usually some type of abuse, physically, sexually, psychologically. They're leaving everything they know, their parents. They're going to this brand new area, and these orphanages, because they're so underfunded, look very like cold, like a prison almost. So part of our heart is we want them to have a place where they see a glimpse of the kingdom of God, and a place where they want to be there, so they want to learn and grow. But I think long-term wise, Edgar, their biggest need is the gospel, which by God's grace, these are Christian orphanages, these three, so they do get to hear the gospel. But after the gospel, their biggest need is education, because after 18 they have to leave the orphanages, and without education they become day laborers picking crops in the field, just like we see people in front of Home Depot looking for jobs, for the day. These orphans, they have to line up at the bus stop, and their hands get black because of the pesticides, and they don't use gloves. They end up living in these huts with no running water, just an aluminum sheet over them. So it's a very hard life of backbreaking work. And of course, they get into drugs, alcohol, trafficking, even prostitution, all of that. So I feel like the burden and the heart that God's given us. But the cool thing is that our church has also sent missionaries to Yucatan in Mexico, which is central Mexico. And they've actually built a school there called BICA, BICA. And it's a Christian school, but these kids who go through the school, they graduate. I mean, yeah, they graduate and become like, architects and engineers and teachers. They have actual careers. And their high school students test number one in the country in math and physics in the whole nation of Mexico. It's such a good school that even the local senators and governors send their kids there, even though they're not Christian. So I feel like God has given us a blueprint there with Bika. And one of the orphanages here that we support has a big campus. And they already have a school that has 3 classrooms. So I feel like now it's just a matter of logistically figuring out what it's going to take, how much it's going to cost to build the school, what kind of personnel we're going to need for the teachers and stuff. But I feel like I'm excited because that's what's really going to give these orphans a future, by giving them life skills to have a job and make money.
Dude, that's such a good cause there. How can people go in to provide more mattresses? That's one of the things they need, right? What else do they need? Socks, for sure.
Yeah, I mean the for the three orphanages right now we did already replace all the mattresses, so that's good. But then the painting trip we haven't raised any funds for that. So, and then they also need computers. They need education supplies like books. Um, instead of just like children's books, which are good, but we want to provide books for them, like the self-development books, but translated in Spanish, because we these kids are really, really smart, Edgar. Like they're so talented at different things, but they just don't have the tools and resources to help them develop those skills where they can make money with it. So definitely, there's some classrooms in some of these orphanages that are really old. So we can renovate those. We can bring in new curriculum, new course material to help them learn and grow. And yeah, so books, computers, things like that. I mean, with AI, of course, it's such a big thing that we would love to give these kids access to AI and then just accelerate their learning and prepare them for the future.
Such a good noble cause for that. I think one of the books we should be providing for them, or you, I'm going to try to help out as well with Limitless, because Jim Quick talks about
Love that.
that we are always taught things being grown, but we're not taught how to learn and to retain that information. So that'll be huge for them to remember that and be able to learn it faster, learn more, and be able to be a lot more successful due to you and your community and your group.
Yeah, and I mean, just to even go a little bit more in depth, the leader of this orphanage ministry, his name is Andres, and his parents were missionaries in Argentina. So he was born in Argentina. His first language was Spanish, so it's really awesome because he speaks the language fluently, and it's really his heart and passion that I'm coming along to support. And right now, he is working on putting together like a school that is for that can be used for the orphanages, that can be used for any mission trips we go to, because education is a huge need everywhere. And he is starting to homeschool his two kids who are 7 and 3, just the same as mine. So he's gonna take something called 2 hour learning. That's something that if you go to ourlearning.com, it's like a very AI based learning from Alpha School. So he's gonna take that. He's gonna combine that with the Bika curriculum because he's super involved with the Bika school. He develops their website and all of that, and then also add to it a biblical worldview, because he's like, if you, he's like, mission shouldn't be like an add-on. It shouldn't be like a secondary thing because he grew up with missionaries. He grew up in the home of missionaries, and he takes his 7-year-old son Lionel everywhere on the mission trips. Missions just becomes it's just part of life. Right? It's not because of that biblical worldview. So we're gonna add that. Plus, adding on life skills like photography. Like he does drones, and he brought the drone to the orphanage, and the kids loved it. But he's like, you can teach somebody how to do drones and photography, and they can make money doing that. So we're actually starting with some of the other people in our church who are teachers, but really starting to just put together a really awesome homeschool program for it can be for our kids and my child Bella and my 7-year-old Bella, and his child is going to be kind of the pilot or the guinea pig. But if anybody is interested in that or has some resources and want to connect about that, putting together just a really good Christian homeschool curriculum that also involves life skills and involves AI learning. We're trying to kind of just combine the best of all of those and create something that's really, really good because we feel like there are good Christian curriculums out there. Like this is my first year homeschooling, and I found like Abeka and BJU, but it doesn't really have the AI learning component. Alpha School charges $40,000 a year for their tuition, which I want to do, but I can't afford that. But also with the life skills like communication, leadership, investing, all of that, with all of that combined. So that's where we're trying to develop.
2hourlearning.com. How do you spell that?
Yeah, I think just 2hourlearning.com.
What is it, like number two, or is it
Yeah, the
two
number
W
two, I
O?
think. Or you can Google 2 hour learning. So we're gonna try to adapt. That's the AI learning program. So that Alpha School uses the $40,000 a year school, but we're gonna try to just adopt that part of it for some of the curriculum,
Okay,
like basically
amazing,
AI based learning or AI assisted learning.
awesome. So you got involved to the orphanage through your church,
Yeah, yeah, through the church.
and it's amazing. And then so you got mattresses, and then if they want to and I guess, donate funds, would that be? Do you have a website for that? Is it to the church? Is it to the
Yeah, if they go
orphanage?
on my Instagram, on my link tree, there's a Tithely. That's through our church, so they can give through our church, or they can just reach out to me. I could share more, like all the different needs. Like in the painting trip, we need, they need computers and school supplies and education and resources. So yeah, there's a lot of different needs they can contribute to.
Great, wonderful. I'll put that in the description below, so if whoever wants to reach out and do something, be able to help out some kids that unfortunately haven't had the privilege, the opportunities that Joshua and or myself, and if you're watching this, probably they probably don't have YouTube access. You don't know, you know. Um, please put that information there. Give a comment to Joshua. Tell him thank you for his go giving that he's doing for serving others that have nothing to do with him, that aren't going to improve his life, like enriches at all, but he's doing it spiritually and just being able to change that person's world. It's amazing.
No, I appreciate that, Edgar. But again, glory to God. And like Jesus says, it's more blessed to give than to receive. And I think there's as you know, being such a go-giver yourself, there's a special kind of fulfillment that you get when you give and you help other people that even is better than money. So of course, money is great, but success is necessary. But yeah, just that itself is a blessing. So
Amazing. Well said. What's next for Joshua's son?
we're just doing these two things. The foreclosure is going to continue to do that. The orphanages, we want to help with that. Two other things I want to share if anybody has a heart for that is one is trafficking. So my wife and I, because we have two daughters, especially, we have a huge heart for trafficking. We feel like on earth, that's probably one of the worst things that can happen to somebody, especially a child, to be forced to perform sexual acts. And so we partnered with a great organization called Love Justice International. And they're unique because they stop trafficking before it happens by monitoring the transit points. So when they see a suspicious adult with a child, they actually rescue the child from them. They've rescued over 80,000 children, and including over 20,000 just last year. And again, that's great because the child doesn't have to experience all of that trauma. And of course, we want to rescue people who are already in trafficking. There's organizations for that we love, like International Justice Mission, Tim Tebow Foundation. But again, if we're able to prevent them from having to go through all of that, that's just a huge plus. And then in addition, they've gotten their cost per rescue down to only $132 per rescue per life. And so what we started doing in June with our foreclosure business is every foreclosure deal we start, we donate $396 or the amount to rescue 3 children from trafficking. And we're just really excited and proud to partner with them and to help raise awareness. So if anybody is interested in that, and just check out Love Justice International. And by them partnering with us with the foreclosures, not only are they going to help people with foreclosures, but they're also going to help rescue children from trafficking. So we're, God willing, looking to scale and help do more of that. The other thing is with 2 other Owners Club members, Amy and Nayeli, we are starting a movement to help people with domestic violence. They both shared that they have experience with that, and they brought me in as a capital raiser. And I'm learning a lot about it that honestly wasn't even on my radar. But the more I learn about domestic violence and really think about it and hear these stories, it really just makes me sad and angry at the same time that a male would use his strength to just beat and oppress a mother and the children. And what's really sad is that it's really hard for a mother and mother to decide to leave because they're worried for the kids. They usually don't know how to provide for themselves, so a lot of times they stay in that abuse for years. But even when they leave, they get up the courage to leave. Usually because it's so bad they can't stand it anymore. They go to a shelter, but they can only stay there for 90 days. After 90 days, they have to leave, and in most cases, they don't have anywhere to go, so they have to go back to the abuser. But guess how the abuser feels about them leaving? They're usually super mad and the abuse gets worse. And there's even a case where this 6-year-old child got thrown against the wall and got brain damage and died a few years later. So it's those kind of stories that I'm just starting to learn about where, the Bible says that true religion is to minister to widows and orphans. But in some ways, I feel like an abuser is worse because in widows and orphans, the father figure is just absent. But with domestic violence, they're actually doing harm to the mother and the child. So what we're doing is we're looking to acquire multifamily properties and to provide permanent housing for domestic violence survivors. So after they leave the shelter, they have a place to stay. And not only do they get housing, but they get financial support. There's a lot of resources out there that will provide furniture, school supplies, all of that a lot of these people don't know about, these mothers and children. And the most important thing that I've learned actually is emotional support. Because as Amy has shared on our interview, she thinks that if her mother had emotional support, she would have left her situation a lot earlier. And there's just a ton of resources emotionally, communities. We want to form like a multifamily with a community of mothers and children who have left that, so they can relate to each other, they can support each other, and just again give people hope. That's why we've called this initiative Hope Haven Partners, because we want to provide hope and give them a safe haven, and we want to partner with people like you and or anybody else out there, because domestic violence is so hidden. And that's another thing I've learned too. It's so hidden. People don't talk about it. The people who are going through the abuse are usually scared to not tell anybody about it. And we don't really see it because it's usually done in the home, but it's everywhere. It's literally everywhere in every city. And there's so many thousands, if not, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of women and children experiencing that in our country, in our backyards.
So profound. I would love to elaborate on that. I know time is running out. A couple of things before we go. How can people work with you besides the donations there? Are you looking for team members?
Yeah, again, reach out to me on at my Instagram at JoshuaSun26. Would love to get you as part of our list. We're starting a movement, so we'll send out newsletters, keep you updated on different parts of keep you updated on what we're doing. But another part that I forgot to mention with this is we want to help educate people who want to get into real estate investing, who want to get into multifamily. So anybody who wants to partner with us, whether that's investing or just helping us raise awareness or just staying posted, whenever we do a deal, we want to show them from beginning to end how we look for a deal, how we underwrite a deal, how we manage the deal, all of that from beginning to end, so that for anyone, again, who wants to get into real estate investing, get into multifamily, that's a good learning opportunity.
Yeah, make sure you reach out to Joshua, and he can show you some amazing things that he's doing to be able to serve others. And then what word of advice would you have for somebody that wants to serve other people?
I think for me, what I've learned from my experience is that you can use your business and everything you're doing and connect it with impact. Whatever business you're doing, let's say you're a realtor, you can say, hey, every time I sell a home, I'm going to donate X amount of money to this cause that you're passionate about. And then you can also encourage other people to do that too by making content and raising awareness, because I think awareness is a huge thing. I think we all have an innate compassion when we see a starving child or somebody in need. But I think a lot of times we don't help because we're just so busy with life, and that's not a criticism. That's what all of us goes through. So I think even just raising awareness is a big part of how you can help. And if you want to, you can definitely do that through your business, through your social media content. I think that's a great tool that I've learned to use to raise awareness and even raise funds to help people in need.
Joshua Son, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all the noble things you're doing. Orphanages, foreclosures, saving investors, capital raiser. You're doing amazing things. You've been blessed. Continue to be blessed. Thank you for blessing others as well. This is Edgar the Connector signing off. Till next time, thank you so much.
Thank you, Edgar. Thank you for letting me share all of this. Appreciate you, brother.
Anytime, brother. Catch this next podcast where you can start your dreams and start to own your time the way these other guests have.